praises, all praises. It's Brother Nashan with New Wine Congregation of Israel coming at you with another class. First and foremost, want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, Yahweh is the Heavenly Father, and Yahweh Shai is His only begotten Son. All right. The name of this class is gonna be called Suicide. All right. The spirit of suicide. I may change it to the spirit of suicide just so the algorithm don't do nothing crazy. But this is based on a question that was presented, and I thought it fit to do a lesson pertaining to that topic. All right, suicide is a very serious issue. If you having thoughts of suicide, you should contact suicide help hotline. All right, I gotta say that for protocol reasons. You should let somebody know about that immediately. All right, but we're gonna dive into it, Lord willing, and give a biblical perspective on that. Why people have those types of thoughts. Is it a sin to do it? All right, you may say, well, it don't say nowhere in the Bible that you can't commit suicide. Don't say that verbatim. Well, we'll go in the scriptures and we'll deal with that and we'll see. All right, so let's start out in the book of Ezekiel, right? Dealing with the spirit of suicide. All right, what you got to understand is that your life is not your life, okay? It does not belong to you. To feel as though you can take your own life as seeing that as a way out is actually false, and it's against the scriptures. It's not a biblical mindset to have. All right, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 18 and verse 4. It says, behold, all souls are mine. All right, all souls belong to the Most High God. Everybody that's alive, you're literally lent your life that you have right now. It's not your life. It says, behold, all souls are mine. As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. Okay? It shall die. If you sin against the Lord, he's gonna kill you. Okay, and he has various forms in which he can accomplish that, as we're gonna see in the scriptures, right? But to deal with some more that all souls are Yahweh's, let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon. All right, Wisdom of Solomon in the Apocrypha. We're gonna read chapter 15 and verse 8, if I can find it. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15. Wisdom of Solomon 15 and verse 8, Salaki. It says, and employing his labors lewdly, right? Going into mankind. The abilities that we have as men and women on the earth, as human beings, we employ those things to do, those skills to do lewd acts like commit suicide, adultery, all types of fornication, all types of sin, right? It says, in employing his labors lewdly, he maketh a vain God of the same clay, even he which a little before was made of earth himself, right? Going into us making statues to worship out of clay, out of earth, which we was made out of that same earth. All right, that's folly. That's off to do that. It says, and within a little while after returned to the same, out of which he was taken, when his life which was lent him shall be demanded. So your life was lent to you. It's not your life to just do with it as you please, to do with it as you would like, to kill yourself if you would like. It's not, it doesn't belong to you, right? It's not yours. All right, let's go to the book of First Corinthians. All right, First Corinthians 3 and verse 16. Suicide is not of God. All right, it is a sin. All right, First Corinthians 3 and 16. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God? So he says, don't you know that you're the people, that you're the temple of God? Your body is God's temple. It says, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you. If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. So you defile the temple of God just by simply killing yourself. All right. You can't kill yourself. That's defiling the temple of God. That's gonna get you destroyed by God. All right. You may think to yourself, oh, I can kill myself and get away with it and get a easy way out of this life. But that's going against the commandments that the Lord gave us. The Lord gave us, the first commandment he gave us was to be, let's get that in Genesis. The Lord gave us specific instructions. The first commandment that he gave to us, he said, Genesis 1 and verse 26, it says, and 27, it says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Not kill yourself. Not kill yourself. Be fruitful and multiply. Live. All right. The Lord, what you got to understand is he didn't create death. We brought death into the world. Right. Let's get that in Wisdom of Solomon. We brought death into the world. God, the Most High, Yahweh, he didn't create death. All right. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 13. It says, for God made not death, neither have pleasure in the destruction of the living. So he didn't make death. That was on us. We did that, right? Let's go to Romans. Romans 5. Matter of fact, let me read. I wanted to get that next verse too. In Wisdom of Solomon. All right, Wisdom of Solomon. I'm going to read 13 again. It says, for God made not death, neither hath he pleasure in the destruction of the living. So the Lord don't have pleasure in you killing yourself, right? You destroying yourself. It says, for he created all things that they might have their being, and the generations of the world were healthful, and there is no poison of destruction in them, nor the kingdom of death upon the earth. So the Lord don't want you to die. All right. He wants you to live. All right. He said, be fruitful and multiply. Right. Let's go to Romans now. But because of our actions, death came into the world. The death is a spirit at the end of the day. All right. The spirit of death. Right. Romans 5 and verse 12. It says, wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. So death came into the world through the actions of Adam sinning, listening to his woman, and going against the commandments of the Lord. That's how death came into the world. The Lord didn't design us to die. He designed us to live forever, right? Let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon. Let's get that in Wisdom of Solomon. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, and verse number 23. All right, it says, for God created man to be immortal, and made him to be an image of his own eternity. All right. The Lord created us to be immortal. He wanted us to live forever. All right. Not to commit suicide. It says, nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it. What you're going to understand is that you only die. The reason why you die, or if in this instance, if you have a spirit of suicide on you, that's of the Lord. That's because you are found to be holding the side of the devil. It's something about you and the way that you're moving that the Lord had given you that spirit. All right. The Most High created good and evil, good spirits and evil spirits. So if you dealing with a spirit of suicide, understand that's of the Lord. The Lord sent you that spirit, right? Let's go to First Kings. The Most High gave you that spirit. First Kings chapter 22. And we're gonna prove it in the Bible. Now, some of y'all like, well, that don't sound like God. That don't sound like the God I serve. Well, we'll see. All right. First Kings chapter 22. And we're gonna start at verse 19. It says, and he said, hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. All right. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven, all the angels of heaven, standing by him on his right hand and on his left hand. Okay, so you got spirits on the right hand side and you got spirits on the left hand. What does that mean? Right hand, left hand. Let's go hold that. Let's go to Ecclesiastes. Let's see what that means. Chapter 10 and verse 2. It says, a wise man's heart is at his right hand. Okay, but a fool's heart is at his left. So angels on the right hand represent good spirits, right? Spirits that are influential to do righteous things. Spirits on the left hand are spirits that are influential to do evil things. Okay, let's keep reading. Let's go back to First Kings 22 and 19 again. It says, and he said, hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left hand. And the Lord said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? So the Lord asked the question to the spirits, to the hosts of heaven, to the angels. Who's gonna persuade Ahab that he dies when he goes to Ramoth Gilead? It says, and one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. So you got the angels in heaven talking about how they're gonna kill this man. Oh, we can kill him like this. What if we make some wolves come out and tear him to pieces? Or what if we make his son betray him, and then because he been going off for about the last 5 years, get a spirit. They just discuss. Don't tell them what. They don't say all of what they talked about, but they talked about how this man was going to be put to death. That's what we do know. It says, verse 21, and there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. I'll be the one to persuade him so that he dies. It says, and the Lord said unto him, wherewith? How you gonna do it? It says, and he said, I will go forth and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. He said, you're going to do exactly what you said, and it's going to be successful. You're going to persuade him, and he's going to die. You're going to be a lying spirit in the mouth of his prophets, and he's going to die. All right, so the Most High can give you a evil spirit, or he can give you a good spirit, right? Let's go to 1 Samuel now. Let's go back in time. Let's look at King Saul. King Saul, there's a few instances of suicide in the Bible, and suicide attempts even, right? The two that stand out are Saul, at least to me, Saul and Judas. Okay, we're gonna look at Saul for a minute. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 10, and let's look at verse 6, right? We're gonna start there. It says, so this is when Saul was getting anointed to be king over Israel, right? It says, and the spirit of the Lord will come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with them, and thou shalt be turned into another man. So when you get the spirit of the Lord, you become another man. You become another woman. You're not that old person that you used to be. You have abilities and discernment and understanding that you didn't have as that old man or that old woman, right? Samuel told Saul, the spirit of the Lord is going to come on you and you're going to become another man, right? Let me jump down. It says in verse 9, it says, and it was so that when he had turned his back to go from Samuel, God gave him another heart. And all those signs came to pass that day. The Most High gave him a whole new mindset, right? A whole new mindset. When he decided to serve the Lord and do the Lord's bidding, he gave him a whole new mindset, a whole new heart. It says, And all those signs came to pass that day. And when they came thither to the hill, behold, a company of prophets met him, and the Spirit of God came upon him, and he prophesied among them. So you can't prophesy unless you got the Spirit of God on you. Can't do it, right? It says, and it came to pass when all that knew him before time saw that, behold, he prophesied among the prophets. Then the people said one to another, what is this that is come unto the son of Kish? They're like, what he doing? We knew Saul. He ain't used to be in the word like that. He ain't used to be this type of brother. And that's how some of you are, right? And this truth, you got a new spirit on you, got a new mindset. You got the Spirit of God on you. People don't recognize you that used to know you, right? They used to know you for being this drug dealer, for being this killer, for being this rapist, this thug, this whatever you used to be, right? Homosexual. Now that you got the Spirit of God on you, you're not that old person. People don't recognize you, right? So it says the prophets didn't recognize him. It says, they said, what is this that is come unto the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? Right? Is he one of the prophets now? Right? So let's jump now. Let's jump a little bit. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 13. Let's go 3 chapters over. So what we're going to see is that in chapter 10, he got God's Spirit on him. When we go 3 chapters over, he started going off and things started to change for Saul, right? 1 Samuel chapter 13, I'm going to start at verse 13, try to just get you to understand it, right? It says, and Samuel said to Saul, so this is when Saul forced the sacrifice. He got impatient. He got tired of waiting on Samuel and in turn waiting on the Lord to come and make the sacrifice to atone for everybody before they went up to battle. So Saul forced a sacrifice. And this is what Samuel said. And Samuel said to Saul, thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. When you go against the commandments, you're doing foolishly. That's what it means to be a fool, to go against the commandments of the Lord, right? Now, that's strike one against Saul. Let's jump over to chapter 15. Let's see some more. All right. Chapter 15 and verse 1 in 1 Samuel. It says, Samuel also said unto Saul, the Lord sent me to anoint thee to be king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken thou unto the voice of the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. So that was the commandment that the Lord gave to Saul. It says, go and kill, he said, go kill all them Amalekites. Go kill everybody, right? Let's jump down to verse 8. It says, and he took 8. So Saul didn't do what the Lord told him. Instead, verse 8, he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. He took that one. He took Agag and kept him alive instead of doing what the Lord told him to do, right? Let's jump over. Now, let's jump over to verse 17. Let's see the results of that. Now, Saul checked him after that. He ended up killing Agag himself, but he checked Saul after that. It says, verse 17, and Samuel said, when thou was little in thine own sight, was thou not made the head of the tribes of Israel? Basically, when you was humble, when you didn't have that pride that you got right now, you was made, the Lord exalted you, right? It says, and the Lord anointed thee king over Israel, and the Lord sent thee on a journey and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Saul didn't do that, right? Let's jump over. Let's go to verse 23 now. Let's see what the Lord called Saul's actions. It says, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. When you rebel against the Lord, the Most High says that you are a witch, right? What does the Lord say have to happen to a witch? Let's go the Exodus 22, Exodus chapter 22, and we're going to read verse 16. What does the Lord say had to happen if you are found to be a witch? It says, Exodus 22 and 18, Salaki. It says, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. So the Lord gonna get you. He gonna get you. If you a witch, you gotta die. If you rebel against the Lord, you are going to die. Plain and simple. There's no way you can get around it. Whether it's today, tomorrow, what you gotta understand is he's the king of terrors. He gonna sit up and think about the perfect way to get you, right? He gonna think of the best way to get you, right? So Saul is a witch. Saul gotta die, right? Let's go from there. Let's go to 1 Samuel 16 and verse 14. Right, we're gonna see how the Lord dealt with Saul. It says, but the spirit of the Lord, remember, he got the spirit of the Lord, right? When he got anointed as king, now after he done did all that with the Amalekites, let them live, it says, but the spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord, evil spirits come from the Lord. So when you got something like a spirit of suicide on you, that's an evil spirit from the Lord. He sent you that. It's something that you did. This ain't, so somebody might be saying, well, he ain't being very empathetic about that. I know somebody who committed suicide. This ain't that class. We got a class up on our page about dealing with depression, right? And it's a little more empathetic. But at the end of the day, you got to understand man's goings are of the Lord. You going to do exactly what he wants you to do. If you sin against God, you are going to die. Whether it's today or it's 10 years from now, he going to get you, right? Let me read it again. 1 Samuel 16 and 14. But the spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. And Saul's servant said unto him, behold, now an evil spirit from God troubleth thee. Because they understood that back then. If you got an evil spirit on you, at the end of the day, that's from the Most High, right? Let's see what happened to Saul as a result of that evil spirit. Let's go to the end of Saul's journey, right? 1 Samuel 31, and we're going to read verse 4. It says, now Saul kind of went to dealing with mediums, and consulting with evil familiar spirits. He just kind of just fully fell out of the truth. And this is what ended up happening to him. 1 Samuel 31 and 4, it says, then said Saul unto his armor bearer, draw thy sword and thrust me through therewith. So he told his armor bearer, look, kill me, right? It says, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through and abuse me. So he like, I don't want these heathens to get hold of my body and just mutilate my body. They ended up doing that to him anyway, right? So he told his armor bearer to kill him. It says, but his armor bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword and fell upon it. He killed himself, right? He committed suicide. Why? Because he had that evil spirit from the Lord on him. If you thinking about doing that, hey, and the Lord want to get you, it's probably gonna happen, right? And one thing about it, right, in the type of work I do, I'm around people who say they want to commit suicide and commit suicide all the time. It's a difference between a person that want to commit suicide and a person that say they gonna commit suicide. If you want to kill yourself, there's nothing, you gonna make sure that you do it. You're gonna make sure that you do it. You got people at my job, I've seen people all the time, they be like, I want to kill myself, right? They'll tell somebody. But one thing about a person who want to kill themselves, they not gonna tell nobody. If you really want to kill yourself, you ain't gonna tell nobody. You gonna do it. You gonna wait till nobody can interfere with it, and you're gonna make it happen, right? That's because you got an evil spirit from the Lord on you. Okay, let's keep going, right? Let's keep going. Let's look at Judas now. Let's look at another example. Somebody else who killed themselves or committed suicide. Let's go to Luke, right? Luke chapter 22 and we're gonna start in verse. We're gonna start at verse 1, and we're gonna read the 6. All right, Luke 22, and now Judas was around Yahushua. He was around the Lord, right? Don't make no difference. If you not of God, then you not of God. It don't matter if you around Yahushua himself. If you are of the devil, and that's the purpose that you got from the Lord, you're gonna be a child of the devil. All right. Luke 22, start at verse 1, and we're gonna read the 6. It says, "Now therefore the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover, and the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people." Right? It says that the priests wanted to kill Yahushua because they feared the people. The people was believing on him. He was doing these miracles, and they wanted to make him their king. Right? It says, "And the chief priests and scribes saw how they might kill him, for they feared the people. Then entered Satan, a evil spirit from the Lord." Satan is just a spirit from the Lord, a spirit on the left-hand side, the chief spiritual demon. That's who he is, right? It says, "Then entered Satan into Judas, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. And he went his way and communed with the chief priests and captains how he might betray him unto them." So he went and talked to these men. Look, I can get him this way. I could cross him out this way. I could say, I know where he be at. I know where he like to pray at. I could tell you how to get him. I could show you just how to get him, right? He went and talked about that. It says, "And they were glad and covenanted to give him money. And he promised and sought opportunity to betray him unto them in the absence of the multitude." So Judas went and did that little side deal. But like, look, y'all can get him this way, right? Now, let's jump to John. Let's go to John chapter 13. John chapter 13, we're going to start at 21. All right, let's see how it goes down. It says, when Yahushua had thus said, he was troubled in spirit, and testified and said, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me." So he like, look, one of y'all gonna cross me out. I already know it, right? It says, "Then the disciples looked one on another." They looking around now like, who gonna do it? Which one of us gonna betray the Lord? It says, doubting of whom he spake. Now because you gotta understand, everybody appeared to love the Lord. That's like a brother in your camp that you just know ain't gonna go off like that. You just know this brother ain't gonna be the one to set y'all up. That's how they was looking at it. Like, who could it be? Who is it? Like, that's what they got going on. It says, "Then the disciples looked one on another, doubting of whom he spake. Now there was leaning on Yahushua's bosom one of his disciples, whom Yahushua loved." The one whom Yahushua loved was John. So John kind of like eased up to Yahushua and like, "Bro, who it is? Tell me who it is." Like, he knew him and Yahushua had that closeness that he didn't have with the other disciples. It says, "Simon Peter therefore beckoned to him, that he should ask who it should be of whom he spoke." So Simon like, man, ask everybody who it is. Simon was like, he was up. He was a hothead. Simon didn't really have no filter. Simon didn't give a damn. John kind of was discreet. He showed discreet, like, man, who it is? Tell me who it is. Simon Peter like, man, ask who it is. Let's find out, because Peter ready to do something. It says, verse 25, "He then lying on Yahushua's breast said unto him, Lord, who is it?" John like, man, tell me who it is. I got you. And then Yahushua, verse 26, answered, He it is to whom I shall give a sop when I have dipped it. So he like, look, it's the person who I give his bread to after I dip it in this gravy, right? It says, "And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. And after the sop, Satan entered into him. So you see how Satan entered back and forth into Judas. That's how he hop on people, back and forth into people. It says he entered. It says, and after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said Yahweh Shai unto him, that thou doest, do quickly. Or in other words, do what you got to do and hurry up and go do it. Right? It says, now no man at the table knew for what intent he spake unto him, for some of them thought because Judas had the bag that Yahweh Shai had said unto him, buy those things that we have need of against the feast, or that he should give something to the poor. He, having received the sop, went immediately out and it was night. And that's deep right there. And it was night, right? So they was confused. They still didn't get it. They was like, because nobody would have thought Judas was gonna do that. Judas didn't seem like that type of brother. In other words, they thought when Yahweh Shah said that he was just going, he the one who carried the money. He kept the money, so they was like, oh, he going to buy something we need for to keep the rest of the feast, or he going to give something to somebody that's poor. They didn't think that he was that type of brother, right? Now, let's go to Matthew now. Matthew 27. Let's see what. Now we all know, most of us know that Yahweh Shah was betrayed. Judas kissed him in the Garden of Gethsemane and indicated that that was the Lord, that they should get him and apprehend him, and he did. Right? This is what happened after that. Matthew 27, and we're going to go to verse 3 and we're going to read the 10. All right, it says, I'm going to start at 1. It says, when the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Yahweh Shai to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself. So he felt bad, like, dang, what have I done? It says, this how you know you ain't got no control over what you do. You gonna do exactly what the Lord wants you to do. Why would he go and just do? He was so bold to do what he was doing and setting them up. Now he like, dang, what have I done? That because the Lord sent a spirit to him to do what he did. You gotta understand. So suicide, that's how it works, man. It says, then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. He tried to get the money back. It says, saying, I have sinned and I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? See thou to that. They like, what? We don't got nothing to do with that. That between you and God. Right? You know the law. You one of his disciples, ain't you? See thou to it. You deal with that. It says, and he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself. He committed suicide. It says, and the chief priest took the silver pieces and said, it is not lawful for to put them into the treasury because it is the price of blood. Ain't that some shit? They say, look, we can't take this money, this blood money. We can't even take it back. This blood money. We spent this money to get this man killed. We can't put this back in the treasury. It says, and they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. It says, wherefore that field was called the field of blood unto this day. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet. So it was prophesied that Judas was going to do this. It was prophesied. It's of the Lord. It says, then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, and they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord appointed me. Right? As the Lord appointed me, the Lord appointed Judas to kill himself. Whoever, let me get it. Let's go to Jude. Not to be mistaken with Judas. That's why they call his name was Judas, but this ain't Judas Iscariot. That's why they changed it and shortened it to Jude. Right? Jude 1 and 4. It says, for there are certain men crept in unawares, Some people come into this truth. They look like they got the beard, they got the fringes, they got the Hebrew name, they know how to teach, all that. They crept in unawares. You ain't gonna notice them, right? It says, for there are certain men crept in unawares who were before of old. When the Lord, we dealing with Genesis right now, before of old, when the Lord created the spirits, when he created all the spirits, he gave some people the spirit. It says ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men, turning the grace of our Lord into lasciviousness and denying the only Lord God and our Lord Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So if you got the spirit to kill yourself, you was ordained to do that from a long time ago. The Most High gave you that spirit to kill your spirit that you got in you was created to do that. They say you was ordained to this condemnation. To me, that's the scariest thing in the world. To be that type of person, to be that spirit, the spirit that got ordained, to kill themselves, to betray the Lord, to go to hell off. Right? Let's get that in Matthew. The Lord said the same thing, man. There's no way that you can mess up God's plan. Oh, don't worry about it. Ain't nothing you can, don't worry about messing it up. Ain't nothing you can do to mess it up. Don't worry, dang, I might mess it up. Ain't you gonna do exactly what you were created to do? Each and every one of us. Matthew 15:13. But he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father have not planted shall be rooted up. You gonna be rooted up. It's just like the person, the Israelite that ain't rooted in the truth. If you in this truth for right now and you ain't rooted, you're gonna leave the truth. You can't really be so surprised when brothers and sisters go back into the world because they weren't planted by the Lord. That's why they're getting rooted up, right? Let's get that in Matthew 13 and 15. It says, for this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time should they see with their eyes and hear with their ears, and with their and should understand with their heart and should be converted, and I should heal them. Y'all understand this the God of this Bible, man. You got this thing, this idea that he want to save everybody. But some spirits the Lord created to go off, to do the thing that is a sin, to kill yourself, right? Some people got that spirit on them, man. So if you dealing with the spirit of suicide, you know, all I can say is if you really want to do it, you're going to do it. Right? Not encouraging anybody to do that. Don't get me wrong. But if you dealing with that spirit is of the Lord. He sent you that spirit. All right? The best thing I can tell you to do is keep the commandments. Keep the commandments of the Most High, and you may not be sent that spirit, right? But there's no telling how the Lord let me go there. Let me get this one more in Ezekiel. If you go against the Lord, it's plain, it's written, you're gonna die. You're not gonna escape the Lord, right? And there's no telling how he may do that, right? Ezekiel 3 and verse 20, he said, again, when a righteous man doth turn from his righteousness and commit iniquity, when you know better and you lead his truth, right? And you commit sin, you stay in your sin. It says, that's how you know it's talking about stay in your sin, when you turn from your righteousness and commit iniquity. When you know what's better and you say, the hell with, I'm just finna do the sin because it feel good. It say, and I lay a stumbling block before him. The same way we read in 1 Kings 19. Who shall persuade Ahab that he go up here and die? This man done turned from his righteousness. He gotta die. To say, I shall lay a stumbling block before him. He shall die. That's plain. And then they don't tell it could be a million, there's 1,000 different ways to die. Like that show, 1,000 ways to die. The Lord probably got more than 1,000. He got a bunch of ways he can get you, right? So the best advice I can give you is don't rebel. Do not rebel against the Lord. When you do that, you asking for it. All right, so that's all I got for y'all today. Happy Sabbath, Shabbat Shalom. It's Brother Nashan with New Wine Congregation of Israel. Kwam Yashala.